Welcome, Homeschool Mamas, to the Homeschool Mama Self-Care virtual book launch. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Teresa Wiedrich from CapturingTheCharmedLife.com. I can't start crying yet. Okay.
It's good. It's exciting, but it's fine.
Welcome to the virtual book launch. I'm Teresa Wiedrich from CapturingTheCharmedLife.com, and I'm here to help you turn your homeschool challenges into your homeschool charms. And I get to introduce you to my 15-year-old daughter, Rachel, today.
Nice to meet you all.
Rachel's going to interview me about my book.
Mm-hmm.
This book.
This very lovely book. Okay, so I know that it's been a really big, exciting thing for you, so I've got a couple questions set up. The first thing I was wondering is, how long did it take you to write this book?
Really only took me about 3 or 4 months to write it, but it took a whole handful of months to edit it and have it published. And the publisher had a challenging last year, just as everybody did, so it took a lot longer than what it was expected, but I had a few editors helping me along the way, which was really useful.
I bet. Sounds lovely. And then where did you write it?
Where did I write it? I wrote it right here during afternoon quiet time. I wrote it probably in Oso coffee shop in downtown Nelson. I definitely wrote it in the fruit orchard with the chickens.
Lovely chickens. We just love them. Where can we find your book?
We can find the book online at Amazon right now. It's available in print form, and as of today, it's available on ebook Kindle. And if you're local, you can also find it at Otter's Bookstore in Nelson.
Lovely. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Who helped you with this book?
Who helped me with this book? Well, there were a handful of people that helped me with this book. I have had many editors. I had Norma Hill, who I met through the British Columbia Home Education Association when I was working alongside them. And that's the advocacy group for homeschooling in British Columbia. And she did a lot of professional edits over the course of a few months. And my mom is a new copy editor, and she did countless hours of work on this book, unpaid hours on editing this book. And my husband also did an edit of the book that really helped me to create structure for the book and really to check my grammar and all those little things as well. But I got to give credit as well to my ARC reviews, which are the advanced review copies. And they are the reviewers that read the book and put a variety of reviews around Amazon and in a variety of places that you're going to see on my online world.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Great people. Who or what inspired you to create this book? What was the motive?
Well, I've always been writing, so I can say that I've always been writing. Mm-hmm. And that's my default setting. But at a certain point, I realized that I want to go in the direction of actually creating the content from my blog. I want to put that in the form of a book. And I had 4 possible options. One was about all of our homeschool travel days. And we did 7 years of homeschool or traveling with our homeschooling. So there's one book option. Another one is homesteading and homeschooling. Another one is self-directed learning, which is a book that I actually have almost finished right now. And the last one is Homeschool Mama Self-Care. And I phrased it that way because it encompasses all sorts of different aspects of self-care, not just the things you would typically think about, like dark chocolate and Netflix and the spa visits or manicures, not that kind of stuff, but more the things that I grappled with the most, like feeling a sense of doubt. Is this thing working? Or overwhelm. There's so many reasons to be overwhelmed. Perfectionism, anger, just endless things that a lot of homeschool moms experience. And so I decided to put it in book form. And I realized that as I write, I'm always entertaining, or not entertaining, I'm always encouraging myself as I'm writing. But I see that my experience, just like some of the reviews have come out to say, that it feels like you're speaking to me, and there's a reason for that, because I'm living the same experience. I'm having that homeschool mom life that I'm grappling with all those things, and so is everybody else. And all of those challenges that any homeschool mom out there has, I've had them too. So I'm writing them to this book for you, homeschool mama, and I'm writing it for me.
Like nonfiction poetry.
Nonfiction poetry, yeah.
Love it.
So I wanted to share. That was really okay. Let me just think. Thank you for interviewing me, Rachel.
Anytime.
Okay.
Lovely to
You
meet
know,
you
the
all.
very first time, I got to say that the very first time I ever was in front of a camera was with this gal, and this gal knows how to do this. You know, I'm more nervous today than I've been on any of my lives, as you can probably tell. But this kiddo, probably about a year or two ago, we sat in front of the screen and did things over and over and over, and I was so uncomfortable at that time, so uncomfortable, and have gradually come out to be more me as I'm present.
I'm comfortable with the camera.
Comfortable with the camera. Yes, okay.
Good. All good.
So
Anyways, yes, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining
Love
me.
you all.
Okay. So, what I wanted to do though, before I get started, is to say thank you to the people that really have influenced me. And in the very beginning of my book, I've got 2 copies now, but I didn't get the full box of 75 today. So, as a dedication, I wanted to share that I dedicate this book, of course, to the ones who I learned the most from, and that would be my homeschooled kids, Hannah, Madeline, Rachel, and Zach. To my nurturers and my encouragers. This is where I'm going to cry again. Who knew I could cry so often on camera? I want to first give thanks to my mom and all the things that she has done for this book. Every step of the way, she's been an encourager. Yes, breathe. Yes, always excited for me at every step and devoted hundreds of hours to editing, unpaid, for this book and cheering me on. So thank you. And I want to say thank you to also Mariana, my nurturing friend, the friend I could call on in those days, the friends that I refer to you in the book where I say the friend that taught me to recognize that it's going to be okay. Where you're at in parenting right now is absolutely not where you're going to be at the end. And every step of the way, there's a journey that changes and shifts, and the parenting isn't the same, the kids aren't the same, we grow, they grow, everything continues to shift. And I got to see in her world that her kids were a few steps ahead of me, that they're doing great. And so I had her as a nurturer, as an encourager. She was the friend who parented a few years ahead of me and reminded me that I've got this. And of course, I want to say thank you to my husband, who, okay, enabled every one of my dreams, always has. Okay, this is the Academy Awards. I'm giving thanks for my Academy Award. No, he always looked at me and said, you can do this. I believe you can do this. No matter what you put your effort toward, you can do this. And he gave me time at Starbucks every Wednesday night to write. And he's given me time all the way through to just do the thing that I need to help carve out time to write and to learn all these new things I had to learn in order for me to do this. We're learning to nurture each other, him and I. And I have to say, I give thanks to my 4 kids. I've been learning about learning with them. I've been learning about loving with them. I've learned that they are my mini mirrors, not my mini me's. They reflect back to me all the things that I need to learn about me. So to Hannah, I say, you taught me the value of a Taylor Swift lyric, to go deep into British history, to turn a Titanic story into a year-long history unit study. You taught me to expect the unexpected. And just because you felt it was necessary, or because I felt it was necessary to unschool her, I did that for a time. But she surprised me even that just because you unschool for a time doesn't mean that you don't later on go on to do a double major at a university and practice your Latin when you're not actually told to by your mom. And when she decides to take over the world, I am certain that she will. And to Madeline, who I assume can do anything that she puts her mind to, and she always does. She's fed me, literally, figuratively even. She's a natural-born nurturer. She's reliable and straight up and always available. I'll miss her companionship deeply in the next few months when she goes off to do her dance school in Toronto. And to Rachel, who is charming and vivacious and confident. She can sell you a car, she can write essays and speeches and cookbook recipes in full ad copy. She says she'll still be an actress, and I believe her. It's hard to imagine her doing anything other than being an actress. She's taught me well about YouTube and being present and trying very hard to just naturally be me on camera and getting in front of the screen in a natural way. She requires nothing less than fun, and she is more than fun to hang out with. And to Zachary, let him tell you that all the magic tricks that he's learned, he'll be the guy that tells you the tales of the Lego builds and last night's dreams. He'll show you those magic tricks on Instagram and tell you jokes. His go-to, or my go-to for him is really him as a handyman. He's the local handyman. He can fix anything. He built his own treehouse. He can do all sorts of electrical things like create fans and whatnot. The first boy, after 3 girls, we named him Zachary, which means God has remembered. So I give thanks to all of these people, the people that are in the dedication of my book. But you know who I also give thanks to? My co-travelers, the homeschool mamas who are choosing to thrive and not to survive. The homeschool mamas that are learning to nurture themselves so they can nurture their kids. So to you, just let me take a drink here. To you, I say, you got this, girlfriend, just like I've been told before. Myself, I tell it to you. But before I share a little book reading that's dedicated to you, I want to share with you briefly what is actually in this book, because I tend to focus on certain things as I'm sharing about this book, and I tend not to share other things. I do talk about the spa, which I've only gone to about a handful of times, and I do talk about chocolate, and I talk about Netflix, and I talk about all those little strategies, those little fun things, and it has its place. And yet there's a whole lot more to self-care than those things. I talk about why we explore, or why we're doing homeschooling in the first place. Why are you doing it? Let's start with the basics. What drew you to homeschooling? What do you hope homeschooling will accomplish in your family? How has it been rewarding for you? What have been your challenges? Because we don't all have the same challenges. You need to know why you're homeschooling, because if you don't know why you're homeschooling, you'll keep doing it until you decide you don't want to do it anymore. You need to know why so that you can determine how you homeschool. And then how you homeschool is definitely going to help you to determine how happy you are homeschooling. We need to acknowledge our homeschool realities, and I share that in the book, and that is part of what I'm going to share with you today. We have great expectations of our homeschools. Am I right? We have so many plans. We have so many kids. I'm guessing industry average is 4. I know everybody has all sorts of numbers of kids, but there's a lot of families in that realm. Yes, there will be a replay of this video. Thank you. Too many kids and too many places to be until this last year, which is not a normal year for homeschooling. Oh, and all the corners of your house are never clean at the same time. Can I hear an amen? So we get transparent about our homeschool mama challenges. Overwhelm, perfectionism, feeling not good enough, dealing with anger, doubt, loneliness. Do you wonder why everyone always asks about the homeschool kids' experience of socialization? I think they should be more concerned about their homeschool socialization, mom's homeschool socialization, because oftentimes it's mom that drives the kids somewhere and waits in the car or waits at a coffee shop or waits somewhere, does errands or something not so much fun. So what about her socialization? We will assess self-care practices for physical bodies, like probably the most important is healthy sleep, grooming practices, morning routines, exercise, nutrition, your cycle and sexuality, pregnancy, postpartum, and perimenopause too. We'll assess what you or who you are outside the homeschool mama identity, which I talk a lot about, because even though you might grow up thinking you want to be a mom like me, or maybe you didn't, and you grew into that role. But either way, as a homeschool mom, you're not just a homeschool mom. There's more to you outside of the mom role. The homeschool lifestyle can help you expand your sense of self if you let it. You can learn to identify your own interests, your learning needs, and even create alone time that's not on a toilet. We'll consider how to create a community for you, not just for your kids. No one asks about homeschool mom's socialization needs, but sometimes we're just not spending a lot of effort in trying to fulfill them. So you need to create a community of homeschool parents, but also ones that are not homeschool parents outside the homeschool world. You need to continue to build on your relationship with your partner if you've got one, and your close friends that you'll need to build intentional time with your kids, eyeball to eyeball time, to foster intentional time, connecting with yourself. We'll even consider our homeschool home. It can be taken care of too, but it's not necessarily the way that you thought it would be before you were homeschooling. The care and keeping of your homeschool home, organizational tools, and house cleaning tips, menuing, grocery planning tips, the myth of multitasking, because it's not quite as useful as you would think it should be, and accepting the reality of your homeschool home. And at the end, I'll share a series of heart-to-heart letters from me to you. Letters that I hope are an encouragement to you, that are really some good old-fashioned mom-to-mom encouragement. So you can skip the entire book and go right to that part. A coffee talk with you, unless it's kombucha, Yannick. It could be the first year homeschool mama chat, or it could be the coffee talk for the established homeschool mama. It could be for the mom of many kids, for the tired homeschool mama, the unexpected homeschool family, and definitely coffee talk for stressful times. So I'm going to remind you in this book that you have got this, girlfriend. You really do. I have a privilege of reading a handful of reviews, and I'm not going to share them all with you, but they're coming in and they're very encouraging to me. As I wrote that book, I'm aware that I'm pretty vulnerable on paper, and as many have said, that I'm funny, but I'm vulnerable. And so as it goes out, I'm a little aware of, as different people read it, I wonder, what are they thinking? So I got to just I got to shelve that idea and then put the book out there. But I'm going to share with you one review, the very first review that I received. I'm going to share with you that you can also see on Amazon. This gal says, in 2013, I found myself completely, utterly depleted. I had returned from my first mental health unit stay, and she says, I'm entirely serious. And she was surrounded by 7 kids, 4 to 17, who needed me. It was at that point that I realized how I desperately needed to care for myself as well as I care for my children. I didn't know where they began and I ended. Is that how that expression goes? Suffice to say, I had virtually no boundaries, and in addition, had a very idealized version of myself in my head of what homeschool should look like. Let's say I fell a bit short. So 7 years later, I should have it all together, right? Spoiler alert, I don't. So when I was offered a review copy of Teresa's book, I jumped at it. You see, for me anyway, I found that self-care is something that must be constantly chosen. And if you aren't careful, complacency can sneak up behind you and kick your legs out from under you. I was not disappointed with this book. First, the author is hilarious. That might not seem to matter, but it really makes the book flow nicely and prevent boredom and really feel like you've got to know the author. She covers so much in this sizable book. She covers so much into the whys of homeschooling, managing our many diverse emotions, and caring for our body, minds, but also to be mindful of the things we might otherwise not notice. The people in our lives who influence us, for example, she offers a plethora of ideas for having fun, alone and with kids alike. She shared the value of community and of being organized. Overall, I just think this book is fantastic, and I think that any homeschool mom could benefit from it. Disclaimer, she said, I received an advanced reader copy of this book but my opinions, honestly, are strictly my own. I was not in any way compelled to leave a glowing review. That was my choice. I know that our stories aren't all the same, and I know that our challenges aren't all the same, but I genuinely wish that you will receive that kind of encouragement from this book. Encouragement to nurture you so that you really are nurturing the nurturer. Because in my experience, as you've heard me say many times, I didn't have an awareness that I actually had needs as well. Maybe in a meta way, I kind of thought possibly that I did, but I wasn't actually putting any effort into addressing them. So that is what is in this book. So to all the hardworking homeschool mamas that have been working triple time this year, this has been a challenging year for everybody, and no less for us as homeschool moms. I want to dedicate this book reading to you. And when I'm finished, I'm going to share with you the winner of the giveaway for the Homeschool Mama Self-Care package. So this is coming from my book. And it is my experience that we have some very commonly held experiences, especially in the beginning, but throughout the time, though we have very different storylines, we have similar human feelings or experiences. And I think the reason is because we're human and we experience those uncomfortable feelings. We grapple with certain uncomfortable feelings in the homeschool context similarly. You know, like I said, about doubt and overwhelm and perfectionism and anger and loneliness, and you fill in the blank. So this I share with you. Acknowledge your homeschool realities. Before I began homeschooling, I imagined that my homeschool world would include 3 little girls in white dresses, running in and out of the kitchen, the screen door slamming behind them as they tromped through the garden. I'd come outside with their nature journals, and we'd sketch and label and listen to the robins tweeting. Then we'd cuddle on our white sofa with a read aloud to while away the afternoon. Maybe we'd read The Secret Garden, Little Women, or one of Jane Austen's offerings, my favorite. It didn't take long to discover little girls in white dresses get dirty. Not every kid wants to nature journal, and some kids don't even want to sit at all. 4 kids on a sofa likely means territorial skirmishes, and white sofas in a family home are the epitome of unbridled homeschool optimism. Homeschooling has as many challenges as it has charms. With each family comes different challenges, but there are a few common ones. Homeschooling in the beginning. The first homeschool year feels like swallowing an open fire hydrant in one gulp. Having all the kids in one place trying to teach them something, anything, and making lunch or reading French sentences and answering math questions, it's a multitasking expedition. Peace and joy in that first year homeschool world feels like an unreachable goal. Sometimes the kids bicker more as relationships are beginning to be negotiated. Thinking time feels as endangered as a snow leopard on the beach, thinking quiet thoughts. It's a challenge to try to find time alone that isn't on a toilet seat. And trying to keep up with the housework, a mess is made right after one is cleared. And in what part of our day are we actually doing homeschooling? In the beginning, a barrage of homeschool philosophies overwhelms as we soak ourselves in homeschool research, visit with established homeschool mamas, or visit Facebook threads, or read homeschool blogs, or peruse homeschool books. This research provides ideas, but also provides proof that everyone else seems to know how to homeschool right, whereas us, new homeschool mamas, swim in a sea of uncertainty, or drown, as it sometimes feels. How about slump month? Slump month is a known thing in the homeschool community. Somewhere in February, the fog and the clouds settle in low here in our Kootenay Mountains. Sometimes the sun doesn't visit for weeks. After the excitement of the new year is long behind us and the season of celebration ended in our holidays in December, the only break to look forward to is spring, glorious spring. And in my part of the world, there's a lot of snow in February. So we can use it for our entertainment and our exercise, but the clouds are usually hung so low I can't always see across the river, which is right past the edge of our lawn. These are the kind of days that make us want to do a workbook bonfire and watch movies all afternoon. This is the time of year I sense the kids are ready to fly away from their routine like the geese at the neighboring island in late fall. Extracurriculars become ordinary. Everyone wants to run through the meadows barefoot, climb every mountain, swim through the sea. Really Sound of Music feel. Homeschooling can be a constant, continual stream of irritations. The kids bicker about who gets to sit in the front seat. Don't look at me like that. Another demands, I want to sit in the front seat of the car this time. Someone else in the car bickers, move your feet out of the way. Someone doesn't want to share a footwell in the car with their sibling. Bickering and complaining can get on a mama's nerves. We're learning superhuman circus tricks as we try to maintain patience as we listen to yet another argument between siblings. We fawn over them when they're tucked into bed, but if they're not in their pajamas when we ask them to, if they took 20 minutes to find their toothbrush or still have their light on after 9, our sweet bedtime wishes turn into lioness roars of exasperation. Homeschool boredom is a reality too. Even when we are in the early parts of our homeschool years, we mamas might feel bored. We're not chatting at the water cooler on breaks. What breaks? And we aren't donning fashionable 3-piece suits for our commute to the office. We chat with littler people much of the day and sometimes tire of hearing about Lego builds and Barbie houses, and some days we might want to invite the postal person to sit for a cup of coffee and listen to details of his delivery route instead. Teach enough kids the preposition poem and you might find yourself questioning the meaning of life. Stare at that list of prepositions long enough and you might will, with laser-focused eyes, the first language lessons to blow into 1,000 bits. P.S. It's still a useful book. Homeschool is messy. Homeschooling isn't just happily watching our kids' interests and floating from one exciting activity to the next. When once we thought being at home all day meant we could maintain a tidier home, I did. We discovered we live here. Every room is used for something. Some days we can't find erasers anywhere until weeks later we discover them growing under the sofa cushions like a nest of mice. Some days we've finally purchased all the ingredients for a science experiment. Then discover that someone, the littlest one, dumped the entire bottle of citric acid into a box of baking soda, so no experiment today. The house entryway always, even right now, needs sweeping. There will always be dishes by the sink. You will never be asked to photograph for house and home. No matter how cleanliness standards are high, everything will not stay clean at the same time. You can only hope that the social worker doesn't want to make a visit. Life gets in the way sometimes, for everyone. You trip into an argument with your partner before you serve breakfast. Your mother gets sick, or your aunt, and you have to cancel everything to drive someone to appointments. Your neighbor calls to ask if you can care for the dog as they are away because their dog is afraid of thunder and lightning. A friend needs to take their older child to a doctor's appointment in another city, and you're asked to look after their younger children for the day. There's no substitute teacher to call. Every day won't be on homeschool train schedule, no matter how much you would like it to be. And homeschool burnout is a reality of most homeschool moms at some point. If the notion of putting the kids on a random bus doesn't sound like a joke anymore, if instead you're mouthing the words, "Help me," as the yellow bus goes past, you might be finding yourself in homeschool burnout. If you find yourself reacting to kids' squabbles or perpetually irritated that a child won't show interest in his studies by saying, "If you don't, then you're getting on that bus Monday morning," you might be experiencing homeschool burnout. If you've written, "Research the local school's telephone number" on your to-do list and plan to learn the registration process, if you're spending more time lying on the couch, but maybe telling yourself that you're unschooling, then maybe the diagnosis is homeschool burnout. Homeschool burnout is not selective. It doesn't come to moms who love homeschooling and moms who homeschool because everyone else is homeschooling. Burnout is not for classically focused homeschool mamas more than unschool mamas. Burnout isn't just for moms who work part-time or for a single parent homeschooling alone. Burnout doesn't arrive on your front step in the 2nd year or the 5th. It doesn't visit if you have 5 kids or just 1 or 2 or 19. Although I guess it would happen more often with the one with the 19. You love your kids. You come into this homeschool thing from the beginning before they were the size of a bean, or you bounded into this homeschool thing when the kids were well into school because you discovered the brilliance and engaging nature of homeschooled kids. Or homeschooling just seemed like the best choice at the moment for so many possible reasons. You spend hours reading about learning, listening to podcasts, reviewing all sorts of books and curriculum. You buy games you think that they would love. You play unit studies and field trips, or plan them. You make sure they have a balance of healthy and fun foods. You consider the best extracurricular choices for their aptitudes. You shower them with extras that you can afford, but also challenge their entitlement tendencies because you love your kids. Your homeschool benefits. The homeschool life isn't a perfect life, and certainly is not always an easy life, but it is a charm life. You get to be with your kids. You get to know them deeply. You get to know the intricacies of your family unit. You get to facilitate their interests jointly. You get to watch their aptitudes unfold as they grow. You don't have to wake up early. You don't have to. Or you could choose to. You don't have to drive away from your house in pajamas to drop off the kids at school. Or you can wear pajamas all day. You don't have to don a dress-up wardrobe. Or you can, but yoga pants always work. Would you believe I'm wearing yoga pants right now, too? I am. You don't have to buy low-quality food for easy lunches. You don't have to concern yourself about classmate bullying. No, because you see the bullying quick, and you're on it, because possibly you also birthed that bully. But you can manage those challenges in your homeschool. You watch your kids choose when they want to hang out with their friends and how much they want to invest in their friendships. You don't have to fit random school events into your calendar. You don't have to pay for childcare, bus transportation, or indoor school shoes. You don't have to resist social trends because your kids typically take longer to discover the trend exists. You don't have to facilitate after-hours homework unless you choose to. You don't feel compelled to dress your kids in fashion trends unless you want to. You get hugs at random times in the day. You get to read stories with them until they're teenagers because you can call that literary hour. You get to explore subjects like classical music, art history, world history, ancient history, economics, and political science for your elementary school-age kids. You can teach home economics and make dinner, or sew handmade masks for frontline healthcare workers. You can fit in errands whenever you want and call those errands a field trip. As the kids get older, you can fit in time to do what you like. Read, write, build a home business, homestead, pursue your version of creativity. All these benefits are yours. For the next 20 years or whatever length of time, depends on the number of your kids, when you started, if you're going to homeschool through high school. No matter the exact number, it's a whole lot of years, ultra responsibility, and endless effort required. With all these years of benefits, immense responsibility is required, and we know it. No pressure, but that sense of responsibility that you have for your child's well-being and education will stay with you no matter how many years you do have. Homeschooling takes a lot out of mamas, It's a challenge to thrive, not just survive. Homeschooling is hard work, a challenge to plan and coordinate, an effort to continually observe our children, listen to their needs, facilitate their curiosities, encourage them to engage others in healthy ways. When putting that much effort into others, you'd better be taking care of yourself. You've poured yourself into your kids, providing them with every good thing. Hot lunches, nature journaling, violin lessons, patience, and colored gel pens. I hope you've determined how to take care of yourself as you're taking care of everyone else. Take a good, hard, long look at yourself. How are you taking care of you? May you enjoy all the charms of homeschooling. May you be encouraged and reminded that you are amazing. May you remember you are as worthy and valuable as those for whom you care. May these words compel you to build into yourself self-care practices that help you nurture the nurturer. You got this, girlfriend. So I'm going to share in a video in a little bit that I'll attach to Insta Stories, which will also be on Facebook, the video of me and my kids this afternoon doing the random number generator so that we could determine who was the winner of the Homeschool Mama Self-Care giveaway. Just learning how to use a random generator, number generator, was interesting. So I just want to show you that. If you know me, you know I'm going to put this in a self-care package. So when you think dark chocolate, what kind of dark chocolate do you think of? Because I think of this. This is my go-to. I've been doing online grocery shopping for a few months, and every week this is on my list. Lindt. I'm not sure that there's really a better chocolate, but if you're on the West Coast, you should try Rogers Chocolates. That's really delicious. And because I can't give you a bottle of wine, or I can't send a bottle of wine outside of the province, there is a box of very delicious port, cherry, I can't read it, swirl chocolates that are made by a local fellow, by Perry, Chocolates by Perry. And of course you know that I'm going to include a bag of Miss Vicky's in this bag. I don't do a lot of discussion on this because this is not really my background, but I have learned a lot from the town where I live, and I'm soon going to have a guest on my podcast that happens to be my acupuncturist, and she's a Chinese medical doctor, and she's also going to be talking about natural immunity and natural health. So we're going to include in the self-care package an essential immunity natural guide, or a guidebook. And of course I'm going to send along a journal because I live and breathe in these things. I have literally written in a journal since I was about 7, something like that. I had nothing to say, but I did write. I woke up, I made my bed, and I brushed my teeth every morning for a couple decades. I also really love cozy socks, and originally purchased these for myself and decided that this is absolutely a self-care gift. These are very cozy. These are, they aren't actually the fabric that I thought they were, but they're really soft. From a local supplier, I have a vanilla mint coffee half moon vegan soap, and it smells so good you'll probably want to keep it away from your toddlers and preschoolers because it smells edible, and I think officially it's edible, but anyway, it's soap. You'll also find in this package a Lip Rescue Pina Colada on Ice from KL Skin, which is also local, and a deodorant by KL Skin. I know who the winner of the giveaway is. I do not know where she lives, and I do know that I cannot send these in the mail if she happens to be across the border. But I think one of the best self-care strategies you can get is to grow a garden if you're into that sort of thing. Because in the beginning, it's a science experiment, or it's a science subject that you can pursue with your kids. But in the end, it becomes a quiet space for you to rejuvenate outside. Magnetic bookmarks that I've purchased from Indigo. And of course, a cucumber face sheet mask. And something that I don't normally do, but I've heard lots about, is MCT collagen creamer for your coffee or tea. And where I spent a lot of my time writing a book was in our local coffee shop, a very well-known coffee shop called Oso. And my favorite, chocolate cake. This is the flavor of coffee beans chocolate cake, and it's very good. Can you smell it? A little scratch and sniff. So delicious. So, and of course I'm gonna send you some of my mint tea from the Giverny Bed and Breakfast, because I am also the owner of a bed and breakfast, and I am hoping that next year I am available to share a night at our bed and breakfast. It's a very relaxing, very peaceful place to live. Many people will say that. And they also discover it is in the middle of a very quiet place. Let's just say it's in the mountains, it's very quiet. So, drum roll please. I love my very quiet drum roll. The winner of the Homeschool Mama Self-Care package is the Stockton family. Yay! So I look forward to finding out where you are, and also include your name, your mailing address, so that I can send it to you, plus or minus the seeds. So I was hoping I could open a huge box of books for you, but as I have been huge, Amazon has not been really fast on sending books out. But I did get one book in the mail, and I'm not quite sure why I got one book right here. So this here is my book that just came in the mail. And if you are interested in purchasing that book in this form today, you can buy that on Amazon. I think it was $17.88, and shipping is dependent on whether you have already purchased other things on Amazon or whether you have Prime, something like that. So you can also find my book on my website, capturingthecharmlife.com. And I'm going to also tell you that today is the day that it launched as an ebook on Kindle, and for 3 days, today, tomorrow, and Friday, I'm offering it in a very low price, $2.99. And for the purpose of, it actually is really useful to get it out in front of many people, obviously to advertise, and they're more likely to show it to many people if you download it in the first few days of its launch or its release. So $2.99, and as a special bonus just for today, if you tag me or tell me that you have purchased this book, I'm going to send you a free seminar. And I'll give you a choice, because I have been doing quite a few these days. So either on Overwhelm, on your vision for homeschooling, or on your homeschool mom identity. So you can let me know in the next 3 days if you make an ebook purchase, or if you make an Amazon purchase, you can let me know, and I will definitely send you that link for a seminar, free seminar. And if you want to give back to me, writing reviews is really, really useful for me. I was really thrilled that right before I came here, I noticed that there was another review. There have been a few reviews that have been rescinded, and I don't know why that is, for what reason that was. But I know that you have to be able to purchase online to make an Amazon review. But even if you are purchasing it through my website or in local area, then definitely if you share a review with me, I can use that information in some way. So it would be super useful for me, and I would appreciate that so much. So help me celebrate. And this is how we can celebrate together. My husband bought me tulips and champagne, and so I'm not going to lift this and drink this because I need water. I need tea right now instead. But in order to help me celebrate, what you can do is to share this reading, this book reading, or share a graphic on your Instagram story, or share it with whatever homeschool mom that you think actually might need encouragement. Learning to nurture the nurturer, right? So writing a review would be super helpful for me. Let me see if I have anything else to say. And I think somebody asked me about yoga pants. See, I really am wearing yoga pants even now. Hadn't even thought about it. Yes, he bought me champagne. Champagne and tulips. All right. Does anybody have any questions or any comments? Okay. So here's what I'm going to write. Thank you. So here's what I'm going to write in here. Do you know I got this a few weeks ago and I have not actually read it through. Can you believe that? Something kind of unnerving about reading your own stuff. Okay, so here's what I'm going to write in your book. You've got this, girlfriend. We're going to turn your homeschool challenges into your homeschool charms. And first and foremost, we're going to help you learn to nurture the nurturer. I hope you and your kids have a charmed week. We'll talk to you soon.